Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here with a special introduction and review of my brand new two-post lift from Benpack. Yes, I have the XPR 10A-LP behind me. And the 10A stands for 10,000 pound rating, and the LP stands for low profile, which means the arms get really low to the ground to get under lower vehicles. Without further ado, let's go over and have a closer look at my new awesome two-post lift from Benpack. The lift was installed a week ago today, and today is February 25th. It was actually born on February 11th, 2015, so it was only a few days before that it was actually made, which is kind of interesting. But it showed up on the back of the truck, and the installers, they had professional installers come in and install it. But let's take a closer look at some of the things about this lift that are kind of cool. Here are those low profile arms that I was talking about, and as you can see, they get pretty darn low to the ground. Now, to raise up vehicles that might have running boards or just anything else that might be in the way, the lift comes with these extenders. So it's got these extensions here, which install like so. Just remove the pad, put that in the slot, put that in there, and you're up that much higher. Now, the shorter extensions perform a similar function. They just don't go up as high. The bottom of the lift arms are padded here on both sides for when you're opening car doors, so you're not opening them on the metal. And that's a nice little feature there. This lift can be installed in two configurations. I have mine installed in the wide configuration. See that other bolt hole right there? That other bolt hole means that you can take the whole thing in, I'd say probably about a foot is the difference. So the difference between the wide and the narrow installation, and I suppose that depends on the amount of space you have, but given that I have plenty of space, I had this installed in the wide configuration. Also, you'll note this bar right here that's sort of hanging down. That bar is there for when you have, like, say, a ladder truck or something large on here, and that will trip an electronic switch that turns the lift off whenever that bar gets pushed up, which is nice because it's sort of a self-preservation feature of the lift. The lift runs on 220 electricity, which I had a professional electrician come in and install, which ran this wire down over and across. He also wired in that switch up in there and brought it all down into this junction box. Now, you may be wondering why he did this. Well, the reason is because inside this box, you can see there's a 30 amp cable coming in, and this is the cable going to the switch. The reason why he did it this way, there's no room inside this box. There's a couple of very large capacitors inside here. There's the other side of this switch, and then there's some other things over on this side of the inside of the box. So there really was no room to make the necessarily electrical connections in there. So what he did to solve that issue is he just put this little junction box on the outside, and it seems to work beautifully. I don't mind. It doesn't seem too obtrusive to me. I haven't bumped into it or anything up to this point. This is the lock release. It connects via cable to the other side, all the way up over the top of this little gantry thing here, over to this side, and there's locks that as the lift goes up, these locks will click. So when I lift this in a little bit, you'll hear these locks clicking as the lift arms go up. And that's a safety feature. In case of a hydraulic failure, the arms can come down and rest on these locks. Now, the operation of the lift is fairly simplistic. Really, you have these hydraulic rams inside both of these that are connected to the lift arms. Hydraulic pressure is directed into these rams right down under here, and it causes the lift arms to raise. As the fluid builds up in the bottom of the hydraulic ram, the whole thing goes up. The cables are there to help stabilize things from one side to the other and make sure that everything goes up properly. The they get tensioned. This is actually the one on the other side, but you can remove this block and set the tension down underneath. This cable back in here is for that lock mechanism. It's attached from one side to the other through the top there, like I showed you earlier. And as you can see, this side over here, when you push the lever down, it actually releases the locks on both sides. This over here is the hydraulic reservoir that holds all the hydraulic fluid for both sides. Then the pressure goes out here into the inside of this lift arm where it branches off and goes to both sides. So right about where you see that connection is where the major hose comes in, and it goes down to this side and then up over to the other side as well. Let's lift my element up. Now this is an asymmetrical 2-post lift. So you'll notice the offset on these pillars, and you might be asking, hey, why did they do that? Well, it makes it so that you can open the doors better. It makes it so you have better access to the inside of the vehicle. And honestly, I've worked on a lot of lifts, and this one configured in this wide configuration has been the easiest lift to get in and out of vehicles I've had thus far. And I've been doing this for 20 years now. For the element, I have this running board here. Therefore, I will be using these lower extensions here to get up under. And one of the things I probably should have mentioned is when you pull in, I usually try to make the mirrors about even with the pillars of the vehicle that you're trying to lift. I mean, it really just depends. Larger vehicles are going to get treated a little bit differently, but for the most part, I try to make the mirrors line up with the posts themselves when I bring it in. One of the things that they warn you about right here on this sticker is for rather large vehicles, being biased towards one side or the other can be a problem. And there were two things the installer told me. One was never use the arms just to lift the back of something, like bringing it in. This will damage the lift. And the other thing he said was on the inside of these pillars here, this lift arm rides on the inside of this, and there are plastic blocks. And he said one thing to do is come in here, and I still have yet to do this, is come in here and grease the inside of this area here so that these pads ride up against something smooth. Do that and it'll last just about forever. When placing the lift, you're pretty much going to put it on the jack points. Luckily these move nice and easy, but yeah, you want to just place the lift underneath the places where you would normally put the jack to lift the thing up. And place this one here. And you want to watch out, running boards are kind of a pain with these things, or can be, but actually these are like the perfect size. Now they do also sell some threaded versions of these that slip down in here that you can spin, and you can raise and lower them simply by threading them in and out. Now we're ready to push the button. Yeah, like the hardest part of all this is just getting those lift arms put into place. And that only took seconds. And I was holding a camera as opposed to before where I had to jack everything up and put it on a jack stand. It was cumbersome. It worked, but it was cumbersome. But this, life-changing. Now all I have to do is set the lift arms and push the button. Now, as you hear this go up, you'll hear those locks click. You'll hear click, 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 click. And that is those mechanical locks. So do not be alarmed. That is perfectly normal. There it goes. Look what I can do now. Yes, massive grin, massive grin. So this is what it's like to get up under a vehicle. As you can see, lift arms were placed and there's just enough clearance in here to not disturb those, dare I call them, running boards. But yes. And here's the thing, now that we're standing under here, especially that it's wintertime, we got stuff that drips down, which is the reason why I've always worn my hoodie, because nothing is more unpleasant. Well, there are plenty of things that are unpleasant, but something very unpleasant is having ice drip down the back of your neck as you're standing underneath a lift. That is not cool. But look, we've got all of this now. All of this we can do. It is just fantastic to work on something standing up as opposed to laying down. It's like night and day. It really is. I mean, not everybody can afford this. Not everybody has the space for this. There's a whole lot of, yeah, Eric, you're a really lucky guy, and I know it. And trust me, I know it. But with this, I can give you much better repair videos, better views of this kind of stuff. It is life-changing. I've even set up a whole workstation over here. But I want to show you something else that BenPak sent that kind of goes with this whole lift thing. In addition to the lift, they sent this. And I wish I could remember its model number, but I will post the link in the description so that you can check it out. But what this guy is, I had the electrician wire the electricity up to it, is also for compressed air. And in fact, at some point, I plan to put a compressor back in that corner and run compressed air to this. It's got some hooks for some air hoses. Now, oftentimes, and in fact, this is kind of what this is set up for, this gets mounted over here, perhaps on this pillar. That would give you quick access when you're checking tire pressures, doing an oil change, rotating tires, that kind of thing. All makes it easier with this little module here. And as I said, you can get this and it can fasten to the side of the lift. I chose to put it on the wall. I didn't want to drill into the prettiness of this new lift. I'm still in love with it, very much in love with it, will be for some time. Now, to let things down off of the lift, you need to do two things. Number one, you need to push down on this lever. And this releases those locks. Remember, it's connected via cable to the lock on the other side as well. Then you need to push down on this valve. I have, and BenPak might get mad at me for showing this, but I used to do this at the place where I used to work. I have a bungee cord here that can wrap around this and hold this valve open while the lift is going down. That way I only have to hold this, and actually once it gets low enough past a certain point, I can kind of walk away and the lift is still lowering. It's still relatively new and takes a little bit of time to go up and down. It's my own modification. Like I said, this is probably not sanctioned by BenPak, but I've done this way for a number of years, and I can understand their concerns. But here's what happens if you depress this and something is up above your head. It's not going to go any farther. It's on the locks right now. So right now, it won't come down anymore. And in fact, if I was going to leave for the day, leave this thing like this overnight, I would do exactly this. I would just let it down on the locks and walk away. That way there's no stress on the hydraulic system. It's all mechanically held up in the air. But now, I'm going to raise it up a little bit and I'll lower it down to the ground. Terribly exciting, I know. But this is just so awesome. This is almost effortless, almost. Not quite, but pretty darn close. Chock full of awesomeness though. Chock full. This is the greatest thing ever to have in a repair shop, it really is. But now there's other things I gotta get, like an oil drain, a transmission jack, and another straight jack that I can use to hold things up in the air when it's up on the lift. Now I know it's past the lock, so I can just release this, and like magic, it will lower to the ground. Like I said, it takes a little bit of time because it's still pretty new. It's also kind of cold. I'm sure that doesn't help hydraulic fluid much. Done. Now that it's on the ground, I come in. I don't even have to bend over at this point. Just kick the, well, maybe a little bit. Hit the rear tire there. Just kick the arms out from under it. Sometimes you have to be careful because they may come in contact with the undercarriage. Ooh, skated by on that one. I didn't even have to bend over for that. This increases efficiency so stinking much. To say that I'm happy with my new BendPak XPR 10A-LP would be a monumental understatement. I am over the moon happy about this whole situation, this whole thing. This is an amazing addition to my shop. It's going to make working so much more efficient. I'll be able to do so much more. And as far as making videos, well, I'll be able to make better videos for you because as you can see, you can look up underneath something very easily. Special thanks to BendPak for sending this along. Really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And hey, if you're watching this video and you're in the market for a lift, a 2-post lift, similar to what I have here, I strongly recommend a BendPak lift. That being said, the installation. As far as the installation of these things, you can do it by yourself. You can have the truck deliver it, you can install it. It's a chore. I would have loved to have done a video about the installation, but the installers insisted that I not videotape the installation. So my hands were tied there, or else I would have given you that. One thing I will say about the installation, they got it perfect as far as its location, its structure, everything. They nailed all that. However, my complaint would be the finish work. When they drilled the holes in the concrete for the anchors to anchor the post down, they never cleaned any of that up. So I think a shop vac and a broom would be a nice addition to their toolkit when they do these installations. But that was something I was a little disappointed in, having to clean that stuff up. But, you know, no big deal. It functions, works perfectly. Like I said, it's positioning. They measured it from one wall to the other and they got it dead nuts where I wanted it. So I can't complain about that aspect of it. Also, the operation of it up to this point has been flawless. I mean, I've only used it for a week now, but trust me, I've been down here a lot playing with this thing, inviting friends over, hey, look what I can do. But really, it is an amazing lift. I am very happy with it, and if you're in the market for a 2-post lift, I strongly recommend it. XPR 10A-LP. Anyway, I am Eric the Car Guy. If you have automotive questions, I would ask that you go to ericthecarguy.com. There's a welcome video there to tell you about how you can get those automotive questions answered. If you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and now Instagram. And I close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I'm going to go enjoy my new lift. I'll see you later.